The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. New York Met Baseball. I'm Ralph Tycho with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. And the two guys are here, Robert Cole and Marty Rose. Start with you, Robert. How are you?
Doing very good. For Florida, it's a little chilly right now, but doing good.
Good. I might as well use this microphone as a station update. Robert Cole has become a co-host both on this show, which will continue the way it is, and he's going to do the Dodger show with Ronnie Rabinovitz and Peter Trunk. And on this station, delighted that you're expanding. You were a Dodger fan growing up, and it's only natural that you participate in that. You become a Dodger and a Met historian throughout your lifetime, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your talents.
Oh, I appreciate what you appreciate.
All right. We have a mutual appreciation society, as the old song goes. And Marty's here, Marty Rose. How are you, Marty?
Yes, doing very well, but as Robert said, we have very un-Florida-like weather. Yeah,
now, I don't know anymore what un-Florida-like weather is, other than it's not supposed to be cold, for crying out loud.
No, but it's not... Technically not even winter yet, and it's like tonight it's going to be low 40s, even high 30s. I mean, now granted, we're not in South Florida, at least I'm not. You know, I'm in northeast Florida, but still, it's not even winter yet. That's, a little surprising. Cooler than last year.
You're in Jacksonville, Robert is in the Tampa area.
Tampa Bay area.
Tampa Bay. Is that considered northwest or
central?
Middle central. Florida?
Yeah, central, middle.
Central, middle. How far are you from Orlando?
Time-wise, maybe an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. So
depending on traffic.
All right. Getting an idea. You're both in great parts of the country. I am too. I'm in California. But both states have been ravaged of late. And this is a good thing. It's a good thing there's no climate change. Because could you imagine how bad things would be if there were? Wow.
Yeah, imagine if it actually was science.
If it actually was science, and if there were people in command who could read a science book and perhaps understand it.
Yeah, how could there be global warming when it's so cold? I don't get it,
No, but they don't call it global warming. They call it climate change. It doesn't have to be warming. That was a misnomer.
Very true.
Always
Very
warming.
True.
But
that's true.
But that is a good expression. How come it's 60 when it's in Florida when it's global warming? But our hearts are warmed that we could talk about the New York Mets and have them be interesting in the off season. To be serious for a second, it was a very controversial trade that went down. We've all had some time to think about it. I'm going to just ask you both individually, you happy, you sad? Keep it. Robert Cole, happy and sad, and why? Happy or sad, and why?
Well, happy and sad, okay? Happy that they have a lockdown closer, okay, which was very important. We've been talking, previous weeks about, getting a closer and who were they going to get. Well, they now have their closer, all right, and you still have all your starting pitching intact for now. we'll see in a couple of days if that still remains. Sad because I thought we had an infield, settled. We had a double play combination, which we talked about. McNeil at second,
Rosario.
Senior moment. Rosario at short. Peter Alonso coming.
And in this case, it's a senior moment because he's of Spanish descent.
Yes. And then, we still have Frazier to play third. Now you bring in Cano into the mix, and Cano wants to play second base, although he can play first, but I think he's made it fairly clear he wants to be a second baseman. And so what do you do with McNeil? Now, what I'm looking at right now on this site that I use, Roster Resources, they basically have Frazier as the first baseman, Cano at second, McNeil playing third, and Rosario as the shortstop. So that's what they're looking.
Well, you know why Cano is so set on playing second. He wants to break a home run record as the all-time leading second baseman. Now, if he had come in and said, "I don't give a damn where you play me. I want to win a World Series. You got a good double play combination going. I'll play first until Alonso's ready, and then we'll talk about something." I would have enjoyed hearing that.
Oh, absolutely.
But I can understand ego is involved. As Marty says, he's a pretty damn good second baseman. Am I correct, Murr?
Yes, absolutely.
So he's got a case. I understand that. I hearken back to the Yankees when they brought A-Rod in, and Jeter would have been well served to serve the team and move over to third. And at that time especially, Rodriguez had tremendous range, much more so than Jeter. And they would have been a better team. And, yeah, he was the captain and this, that, and the other thing. Bullshit. I would have enjoyed hearing it from Jeter back then, and certainly, like I said, from Cano. Hey, let's win, baby. How about that? Go to the World Series and be remembered. But no, they're going to have to switch things around. I have a feeling McNeil is going to end up being gone in a trade to come, and that may work out, may not.
Yeah, it's possible, but right now, like I just read off, if you switch McNeil to third, you can put Frazier at first. He has played first. He can play first. That way, you can keep Alonso in AAA. I mean, Alonso hasn't even played a full year in AAA. So, unless he absolutely rips the cover off the ball in spring training, you let him start in AAA, get his confidence up, and then you can always make a move, once the season is on the way. But
I just remember how high they were on Alonso coming out of the Arizona Fall League, and I thought that momentum might carry through. We'll see how it works out. I know they're not done dealing. Mert, I'll let you try to prognosticate as to what they've got going in the wind for future deals.
Well, obviously, the talk has been about catcher and center field and more relief pitching. Now, as far as catcher goes, the Marlins are asking way too much for their guy. I mean, it seems like I heard 14 different teams were inquiring about him. The Marlins catcher.
Yeah, Real Muto.
Real Muto. don't think the Mets are going to be involved in there. They want either Rosario. The Mets do not want to give up Rosario, and they're asking for like Conforto and Nimmo, and the Mets don't want to give up both of those, obviously. So
Conforto and Nimmo, if not Rosario, separately, or is it an either or?
The Mets do not want to give up Rosario at all, from what I'm reading.
Good.
They
good.
might.
Good.
They might be. They might be interested in getting rid of Nimmo for the right deal. But with that many teams looking for the catcher, I don't see the Mets in it. Now the other catchers they're talking about, this guy Maldonado from the Angels, it's like another 220 hitter. Maybe he's a good catcher, but the Mets need some offense. I don't know why Wilson Ramos' name never comes up. In fact, they even said that he was in Las Vegas, Wilson Ramos, shaking hands and saying hello and making people know that he's available. So you never know if he's there, if he talks to the right people. That could happen. But Grandal's name has come up, but I don't know. After seeing him in the World Series, I don't know if I want Grandal. Plus, he turned down that $17 million one-year deal that the Dodgers offer. So I don't know how much this guy is looking for. Plus the fact that you'd have to give up a second-round pick if you sign him. So I don't think they're going to go for that either. So I don't know what they're going to do with the catcher. Now, as far as the bullpen goes, seems like they want a lefty. Andrew Miller's name keeps coming up. But then again, he's coming off an injury season, and he's going to want a lot. And I don't know. You'd have to make sure the guy's healthy before you give him a big deal. I like this guy Ottavino from Colorado, but I haven't heard his name mentioned as far as what the Mets were looking for. I haven't heard his name at all. Center field, anybody.
Billy Hamilton, that name's been kicked around. He's fast as can be.
Mm-hmm.
Picking that one up in a hurry.
Just before we came on, Ralph, the Royals are very close to signing him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That doesn't make me happy because he can steal 50 bases. He's a table setter, and he's great defensively. Not much of a hitter, I must say.
Anybody hear McCutcheon's name come up at all?
No, I have not.
No?
Actually, I take that back. What I have heard is that there's a possibility that the Rays would be willing to sign him if they make a couple of other deals. McCutcheon's from the area, so that would make sense.
Good. Now, does that mean they're going to sign him for center field? And if so, the Rays have a center fielder, Krychek or
Kiermaier.
Kiermaier. But
Kiermaier.
that was right. I got the K right. There were a lot of letters I missed, I must say. But in my defense, I got the K right. And he's tremendous defensively. Now,
yes. I think he won the Bronze Glove again this year as the best defensive player in all of baseball.
Oh, wow.
And he's won that before as well. So, I mean, yes, absolutely a tremendous glove. Does struggle occasionally with both injuries and batting average, but, the glove you can't take away from him.
Right.
I'd be surprised if the Mets don't make another deal before this winter meetings are over. They got to do something. They got 4 open spots on the 40-man roster right now.
Yes,
so,
really?
Yeah. after that last trade, they let 5 guys go and they got 2 back. They got 36 man on the roster right now. So they could sign free agents. They could make another 4 for 2 deal or something like that, or something's going to happen. Yeah, not during the winter meetings. Something's definitely going to happen.
Yeah,
but
I still believe that there may be something going on with the Rays and the Mets. I mean, they would make perfect partners. Like I said, we said Kiermaier could go in and play center field for the Mets. The Rays have Austin Meadows, who they got in that trade for Chris Archer. He's slated as the center fielder. And then if they did sign McCutchen will play one of the corner outfield spots, probably right. But the Rays are loaded with relief-type arms. And, there certainly is a deal in the makings if the two teams come together.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be very nice. Did they non-tender Flores?
Yes.
Okay, so
he's
gone either way.
Well, he's a free agent, so.
I guess
they also non-tendered A.J. Ramos as well.
Yeah, we wondered about him. We didn't hear anything about him for a while. That's a disappointment. He had the arm going for him, and some guys work out, some guys don't. That's just the way you got to look at it. Do you like the GM, the new GM? Start with Mert.
Well, so far, I mean, he's made one deal, and he comes across as somebody that's personable and seems to know what he's doing, and they put a hell of a front office staff together. It appears they're grabbing guys with experience from other teams. They got a couple of guys from the Red Sox that did well. So remains to be seen what other deals he's going to come up with. But so far, he comes across as absolutely being in charge and knowing what's going on.
Good. Robert, your impressions?
I still have a wait-and-see attitude. He's trying to come across. He's trying to make all the big moves and stuff like that, but I hope it's not at the detriment of the team, trying to make a big splash. In the back of my mind, I keep saying to myself, he's learning the other side of the business, and if things don't work out, he'll go back to being a player agent again and have, both sides of the business down. So I still have some reservations about him. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do.
Yeah, well, we're all skeptical. If you're a Met fan, you got to be skeptical. The past taught us that. Guys, let's go back a little bit in our get a little hot stove league in. I don't know if you caught it. I sent you guys both a link to a 1964 game at Shea Stadium that Mert and I attended together. It's a radio broadcast, and if you got a chance to listen to any of it, at least for me, it brought back a bunch of good memories. First game at Shea Stadium, and I listened pretty much to the whole game, and I will say that Bob Murphy is a much better announcer looking back than we thought he was back then. He really was good, and maybe I'm just comparing him to a bunch of guys in today's game that, guys coming up couldn't hold his jack or microphone or one of those things. Murphy was great. You remember that day, Mert?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It wasn't just me and you. we had. I remember that day very well. As a matter of fact, we just went with guys from the neighborhood that weren't specifically our good friends. We took up a whole row. There was 17 of us, Ralph. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
There was 17 of us. We took up an entire row in the upper deck, and all of us cutting high school that day. It was great.
And all of you had permission to cut high school from your parents.
Except you.
Except me. And we've told this story on the air. This is so funny. Your dad was a swing shift worker, and which meant that during the day he'd be out and about in the neighborhood, pick up some shopping for your mom, this, that, and the other thing. And the day of the game was a beautiful day. I don't know if you remember. Absolutely beautiful. My mom's out with her shopping cart, which we found out was hermetically sealed to her arm. We had no idea until she passed. We couldn't get the shopping cart off. But she's out schlepping to Safeway or Walmart, whatever they called it in those days.
Safeway, yeah.
Food Fair on Northern Boulevard. And Marty and I lived in the same co-op next building to each other. So it wasn't unusual that they run into each other. How you doing, Jack? How you doing, Vivian? Kids have a nice game for a ball game. Remember, this is high school.
Right.
I mean,
beautiful day for a ball game. Yeah.
Beautiful day for a ball game. My mother says, "Oh, yeah, they all went to Shea Stadium. They're all there, 17 of them in a row." Or maybe he didn't know that at the time. So I come home at about the time that I'm supposed to come home after the game and after school. And my mother says, "How was school?" "Oh, just fine, just like any other." She wails off and just whacks me across the face. And like, wow, Sonny Liston, did I wander into the wrong apartment? She got me good, and it wasn't for cutting school, it was for lying. She gave me a chance to say, well, I went to the game, I cut school, blah, blah, blah. She says, "I'm not signing that note. You'll be out of school for the rest of your life. You'll be a bum." She was right. I wasn't out of school, half right. I wasn't out of school the rest of my life, but I was a bum. So that.
What was it? Was that a 4-3 game, Ralph? What was the?
I said I listened to most of it. It's still on queue on YouTube at the end.
I know they lost. I think it was 4-3.
Yeah, they were coming back. Stargell hit one out.
Right, he hit the first home run there.
He hit the first home run. Sammy Samuel was the second baseman. Burright was at short and Harkness at first. Boy, that throws a lot of fear into the rest of the National League.
Oh, yeah.
Looking back, whoa, that would scare you. What got me, though, was my favorite catcher, the great Black Hope, Jesse Gonder, who turns out, I didn't know it then, he caught that game, but he was from McClymonds High School in Oakland, real close to where I live. And let me tell you, besides Bill Russell playing basketball at McClymonds, an outfield at one time of Kurt Flood, Vader Pinson, and Frank Robinson, all playing for McClymonds.
Wow.
One or two of them, I think it was Flood, transferred somewhere else for a while. They all three signed with their American Legion coach, and the coach of McClymonds I think his name was Bowes, Bowes. He was a scout with the Bird Dog Scout with the Reds, and they all signed Reds contract. Flood was originally a Red.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
And here's another thing. I learned stuff. I pass it on. I learned this from Peter Golenbach. Kurt Flood is reputed to have been an artist, a painter.
Not
There's
reputed,
great
very well-known artist.
Very well-known.
Yes.
For one reason, Kurt Flood was a real strange guy. He had some guy painting those pictures. He never painted a picture.
No.
Even when he went overseas later in his retirement, he went to Copenhagen, this, that, and the other thing. He had guys, he had somebody painting those pictures. He never painted a picture. He didn't know how to paint.
Well, he actually painted his name on the pictures.
Well, that I wonder if he'd say, if he painted on some Lou Brock, if he wrote, oh, no, wait a minute, I'm Kurt Flood. That's the other guy, Lou Brock. He never had a moment like that. But that was real strange. And Peter Golenbach found that all about him. He wrote a book that basically got me introduced to Golenbach. The book is Forever Boys, The Forever Boys. It was about the Florida League for retired guys, like senior golf played in the late 80s. And the mistake they made is that they hired Kurt Flood as the commissioner. And Major League Baseball hated Kurt Flood, given playing out his option, causing free agency, not Major League Baseball players, but the powers that be. And they never were able to develop in that league a working agreement that could send guys back to the majors. And one guy who Peter Golenbach explained to me was the candidate to make that comeback was a guy, an ex-Met catcher named Butch Benton. And that was a pretty competitive league, and he tore it apart. It wasn't all that competitive, but and he was still young, an excellent catcher, and he never ended up getting signed out of that league because of the lousy relationship that the league established, making Kurt Flood their commissioner. They needed some publicity. They needed a guy to come in and get his name in the paper. Didn't work out for that reason. But that's a little Ralphie babble. But I don't know if you guys remember Butch Benton. He was came up, I think, if I'm not mistaken, with the Mets.
I remember Brooke Benton, not Butch Benton.
Yes, the dulcet tones of Brooke Benton. I won't even try that imitation.
No, it's not.
No. Thank you for stopping me, Mert. Nah, don't do that.
So I heard Robertson's name come up. The ex-Yankee reliever, Robertson.
Oh,
yeah.
The Mets could be interested in him too. But
that'd be nice. So we've talked about Hamilton, who were not going to get to play center field. Who is a possibility? Are they going to give it to Lagares again until he gets?
Well, he's signed. He's got the last year of his contract is coming up. He's only 29, and the guy just never stays healthy. And it seems to me that his hitting has gotten better than it used to be, but it's such a small sample that you don't really know because he never plays a whole season.
Right.
So, it's just damn shame. I think he's got talent. He's a great fielder.
He's won a couple of Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
And he won. He was there when they got to the World Series, so he knows how to win from that standpoint. Just doesn't, like you say, know how to stay healthy.
No.
And silly injuries too. Running in the outfield. Stubbing his toe against the wall. Just really silly stuff.
Yeah, diving for balls, breaking his thumb.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Yeah. Can't say he doesn't go 100%, He does.
Yeah, he joins Nemo in that way. You got to like him for that. Those are guys, and McNeil, that's what I liked about McNeil. They were ball players. They're ball players. He likes to play the things that win baseball games, that baseball's getting away from. McNeil's a table setter, and you can't say enough about that. You got to have it balanced, and if the guys are going to hit, they have to be able to drive in runs. Have guys on base to drive in runs.
Right.
So,
love the guy. Hits to all fields, and I just don't think he's as good a third baseman as he was at second. From the little bit that we saw of him.
Yeah, to be
third,
fair, we only saw him
last year.
3 games at third.
Early in the year, or wherever it was, spring training, or early in the season before he settled in at second.
And you look for different things from different positions. You look for a little more power from a third baseman, you would think.
Right. Yeah.
So
he didn't hit with much power at all. Right. That's true.
And you hope to make that up with Nemo and Fraser moving over to first. That could work out, but it's 2 guys playing positions that they're not really the best at.
Mm-hmm.
Because they say, well, you move Fraser over to first. He's played it a little bit. It's more than just playing it a little bit. These guys that have played it, maybe I'm spoiled, but there's a kid out here named Matt Long, I think, the first baseman with the A's. He is, and I know I'm in hot stove league mode. I forget his name. He is an incredible first base. He saves a lot of runs at first. And I'm just not going to assume that Fraser, in one spring training, can turn into the kind of first baseman that you need with a team that relies on pitching. You got to have defense to rely on.
Matt Olson's his name, by the way, Ralph.
Matt Olson. All right. That's Tally's last name is Olson. So
we got to get as many right-handed batters in the lineup as you can because we got so many lefties. It's
yes.
Really.
And, hey guys, good show tonight. We gave a little update on what's going on. We looked back on history a little bit. I'm going to ask you, while I'm thinking about it, Mert, the minor league guy that you guys have had on, invite him back. He's due for...
a little bit. Yeah, well, maybe we can wait, a little bit before the season starts because I don't know how much he's been into it, following it in the off season, to tell you the truth.
Okay, well, maybe he followed the Florida State League or the Arizona Fall.
I don't know. Well, he's going to see more because we got Binghamton and Syracuse now.
Right.
This year, so maybe he'll see some of those guys too. you know.
Right,
Always in
and
Binghamton,
that makes perfect sense. You get, for the A's as well, the A's now have Las Vegas, and you call a guy up, you want to go see him, this, that, and the other thing. It's 20 minutes, but, 20 minutes an hour.
Another good thing about Syracuse is that you're going to get a better idea on the offense of what they can do in Syracuse instead of those inflated numbers out in Las Vegas there, you know.
Yeah.
It's a big difference in the atmospheric conditions and all that stuff. So, you know.
Yeah, I have a prediction. My
too.
prediction is you'll see a lot of the A's in Las Vegas because if they don't get a stadium built post-haste, they may be the Las Vegas A's.
Well, I thought I heard just recently that they came to some sort of an agreement out there, Ralph.
It's tentative on a whole bunch of stuff. It's just another 2 or 3 months of waiting. It mirrors what you guys are going on in
Tampa.
Tampa.
Is it a private thing or a public, Ralph? People got to vote on this, or private?
Here's part of the problem. There are two entities that are making the decision. They have Alameda County and the city of Oakland, and they both own one of the properties. The other property is a waterfront property that they're looking at to build. They're going to build it themselves, but they've got to make a deal with the city. B, getting cars in and out of there, it's basically downtown Oakland, is a major issue.
That's right.
So they're probably going to end up stronger for the locale that they're already at, that has mass transit already hooked up and what have you. But it's hard to make a deal with when you have the county and the city to deal with.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and the area doesn't have a good history of dealing with their pro franchises. They lost the Raiders to Vegas. The Warriors are building a building in San Francisco. So it's politically it's screwed up, and they already made about 6 months ago. They thought they had a deal in place. They announced it, and the Peralta School District, which owns the property, reneged. It was in a neighborhood that would have required too much disturbance and this, that, and the other thing. So I'm not going to believe anything. As Robert said, it seems that they have a tentative deal in place of this, that, and the other thing. Until I see it written down, remember how the Giants had to go through 2 or 3 times when they were about to move. One time was to Tampa, was to St. Pete. Another time was to Toronto. And what pisses me off the most, I'm used to it because when your team leaves, as you guys both know, and you're 11, you become kind of hardened to it all. But we shouldn't feel that way because kids are being effective. There's a 10-year-old kid rooting for the Tampa Rays, Oakland A's, and they're so in flux. And they go out and they develop a Jones, and they love this team and that team, and then boom, they're gone. That's not right. As very famous comedian once said, that's not right. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head.
That's a business. What are you going to do?
It is a business, but they're preying on kids to to do it, and somebody mentioned it as an example of how they're screwing it up for kids. They mentioned in trying to get Charlie Finley, an uproar for Charlie Finley in the Hall of Fame, and they mentioned all the good things that he did. And he did do a bunch of good things. Tremendous dynasty that he built, this, that, and the other thing. But you know what? One of the things they mentioned was the DH, and that's very subjective. Is that good or bad? But I'll tell you what they mentioned, too, as a positive, was World Series games being played at night. And sure, the revenue is increased, but kids don't get a chance to see a World Series game because they're sleeping. And rightfully so, that they're sleeping. But,
hey, on that note, the Sunday night games are being pushed up an hour to 7 o'clock Eastern this year.
Oh.
Instead of 8. That'll help
a good
the
idea.
kids a little bit. Yeah.
That's a damn good idea. I'll give them credit.
Yeah. But playoffs and World Series, they should at least do Saturdays and Sundays during the day.
I don't understand why they wouldn't, because you're not going to lose that much revenue on a weekend.
Well, I can almost answer my own question because they don't want to go up against the NFL.
Yeah, that's true.
But, I mean, I don't know.
Sunday afternoons,
Yeah. But,
attendance-wise and overall worth of the franchise, I think the NFL is not gaining. I think they are losing. And but that's fodder for another show.
Yeah, and just another, part of that too, Ralph, is that you now have a lot of parents who aren't allowing their boys to play football anymore because of the injury problem. And that may not be a problem immediately, but, 5-10 years down the line, that's going to make a big difference. It might be good for baseball because some of the athletes will now, concentrate more on baseball than football, but that's going to come into play big time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. Terrific show as usual. Marty Rose, Robert Cole. I'm Ralph Tycho, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. We'll be back when we're back. How about that?
When we got some news.
Yeah. It's generally every couple of weeks. This is nice to do this in the Hot Stove League and to keep you updated, and I get a big kick out of it. Mert, how many years was it from 64? And in our friendship, you could add another 10 years to that because I think it was 1954 when we all moved to Northridge. I think that was when we
my building was the first one.
Right.
The first one that was built. So
and mine was
in there.
They were building mine while yours was completed, and we went to visit ours. And
I think I moved in 52. I think, Ralph.
Wow, must have been 53 for me.
Yeah, something like that. Because my brother was like a baby, and I was like 52. I was like 5. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Sure was.
All right, and amazingly, here we are on the same airwaves 105 years later.
Feels like it.
Sometimes. See ya. Be well.
Have a good
Robert,
night.
thanks again. I announced, I'm thrilled to this. Robert Cole is going to be in on the Dodger Show on this network, and I'm thrilled. Listen to him We'll post that show, his first show, later on in the week. Be well, both of you.
Okay. You too.
You too. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Good night.
Adios.
Night.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.